and what I want to do is allow us to have an honest discussion.
Well, Carson, who is a Muslim, made his comments in May to the convention of the Islamic Circle of North America. Indiana Congressman Carson says the speech which has caused such an uproar is similar to one he has given many times.
America will never tap into educational innovation and ingenuity without looking at the model that we have in our madrasas, in our schools, where innovation is encouraged, where the foundation is the Quran. Looking at the model that we have in our madrasas, in our schools, where the foundation is the Quran,
First up, comments from Indiana Congressman Carson on American education are seeing some major backlash, but he says they were taken out of context.
But he says this was taken completely out of context.
Carson says he does not advocate educating American students in Muslim principles.
Carson says he in no way wanted to suggest that American schools should teach Islamic principles. He doesn't want public schools teaching Islamic religious beliefs.
Carson says he does not advocate educating American students in Muslim principles.
Carson says he in no way wanted to suggest that American schools should teach Islamic principles. He doesn't want public schools teaching Islamic religious beliefs.
Absolutely not. I strongly believe that there should be, I strongly believe in separation of church and state. I strongly believe in separation of church and state.
Carson claims all that he wants is an honest discussion. No, he doesn't. Carson claims that he doesn't want public schools teaching Islamic beliefs. Yes, he does. And I got the proof. Here's the evidence. I had 2 children attending IPS schools. Okay, this was back in the days of Congressman Carson's grandmother, Julia Carson. And I had a daughter who was in the 7th grade at Harshman, who was an honor roll student, and a son who attended McFarland in the 6th grade. And they were in IPS, and like a good parent, I checked their homework and checked their test and looked at their books. And imagine my surprise when I found out that they were teaching in Indianapolis Public Schools, teaching not only Islamic beliefs, but Islamic doctrine, Islamic instruction. Okay, teaching the kids to quote the Quran. The Quran means to recite. And so the kids were reciting the creed of Islam, that there is no God but Allah, he begets not nor is begotten, there is none like unto him. They were being taught that Allah is the God of Christianity and the Bible, and Allah is supreme. And the school textbooks were giving all kinds of preference to Islam over Christianity in the length of the instructions and in the preferences given to it as far as Islam's Quran being the very word of God and the Bible being ancient writings. I've got list and list of all the different things. I went through the whole books and wrote down all the preferences that the state was giving in the school textbooks to Islam. And this is back in 1996 and 97. Okay, so this is back in the time of his grandmother. IPS has been doing this, and I contacted my kids' teachers, and I complained. I wrote a letter and informed them of my legitimate grievances, and they instructed me to address the school board, the Indianapolis Public School Board. So I did that, and I addressed them in person, and I requested a policy of their religious instruction policy at IPS. And they would not do that because they did not have a policy, because it's like everything else, they've got to do these things without people even knowing about it, let alone having an established policy. And so after a month, I contacted them. I contacted the Indiana Civil Liberties Union, because you would think that they would be, really interested in a school giving preference to Islamic instructions and giving public schools children Islamic religious instructions. Okay, because I teach my kids when they was growing up that God loved the world so much because he created it, that he gave his only begotten son, that he would be able to pay the price for mankind and keep mankind from destroying itself if they could only learn love and forgiveness. So imagine when she comes home And they taught her at school that Allah is God, and there is no God but Allah, and Allah does not beget a son. Okay, this is not the instructions I want or education I want my kids to get when they go to a public school. And that's understandable, because here we are having a discussion now about Carson possibly suggesting or looking into Islamic instruction in public schools, and it's been happening in Indiana for the last 15 years. So I contacted the ICLU, but of course Ken Falk at the ICLU there at the time said his caseload was too busy and he couldn't assist me. And it just so happened that his wife was my son's teacher, school teacher. So there was a conflict of interest there, obviously, and he couldn't assist me, so I told him that I would have to go it alone and pursue him in court. Okay, this is the conflict that's been going on, and nobody knows about it because, as you can see, they have a way of turning off your news media here locally if there's something locally going on with one of your local lawmakers, if they're in on it. That's the only conclusion you can come to, and that's what we call a conspiracy. Okay, so here's what resulted of me trying the legal way of, complaining about this back 15 years ago. My wife calls me at work and tells me my son didn't get off the school bus. Nobody knows where he's at. She calls the school and finds out that somebody had put him in protective state custody. Somebody had abducted my son. Okay? I mean, my son's principal was there at the school board meeting when I addressed them. Okay, she knew what was going on. And they knew I was going to take it to court, and so they're going to abduct my son to keep me from talking, to keep me from taking it to court, to silence me, to make me think it's not worth it, to intimidate me, to retaliate against me. That's the way Islam rolls. And when Islam's in your area, when you can have American citizens have their kids taken from for no reason, can't contact them, don't know why, and they can keep him for a weekend, and then we go to pick him up on Monday, and they say, somebody overreacted. It's a rare situation, but somebody just overreacted. Okay? I proceeded with my lawsuit, and of course they dismissed it for lack of jurisdiction. You can't sue a corporation, which IPS is. And that's why it's continued since '96 of IPS being an Islamic school, teaching Islam. All these things that Carson says he's against, if he's truly against it, let him start with his own school system. Let him start with IPS and correct that situation. If not, then he's lying, which I'm suggesting. So now you know why I take this case pretty serious. Because it's a clear and present danger, and just because you haven't gone through it doesn't mean you won't. And if they're backpedaling right now saying we were just talking about doing it, the big secret is they've already done it. That's the big secret. In the next episode, we're going to find out how they got away with it and why in Indiana is all these things happening.
Carson says he wants to know if the secret is
Faith-based institutions.
all faith-based schools